Executive Suite with WPRI.com reporter Ted Nisi.
Welcome to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi. Glad to have you with us. We are talking today about something that'll probably get a lot of you wishing you were doing it, which is traveling. We're talking with Dan Sullivan. He's the president and CEO of Collette Vacations up in Pawtucket. A lot of people, you know their sign off 95, and a lot of you probably know their tours too. So Dan, thanks for being here.
Oh, great to be here, Ted.
So let's start, for those people who don't know much about Collette, tell me about the company, what you do, and how big your operation is today.
Well, we're a tour operators. We're the oldest tour operator in the United States. We've run tours since 1918, so we're 97 years old, and great history.
You look good for 97.
Thank you. But we run tours to all 7 continents. So we started out with Jack Collette as a motor coach operator, and run motor coach tours in New England and all over the East Coast. And then over the years, we've expanded into, and really core business now is traveling all over the world, so our biggest destination's Italy, but Canadian Rockies, Alaska, Antarctica. I have tour guide groups to Antarctica, to Egypt, all over, and we have over 100 tour guides, groups all over the world, so one of the major names in the travel industry.
So are the tour guides, are they your employees?
Yes, in most cases. Some areas of the world, they are all trained by Collette. They're all Collette. They all are Collette tour guides, but in certain countries like South Africa, there's laws and things that don't let you be an employee.
Yeah, of course. And how many? You have a good number of folks up there in Pawtucket in that building off 95, right?
Yeah, we have about 400. We have about over 600 employees worldwide, so about 400 in Pawtucket. Yeah.
So people with longer memories, right? Remember your name is Collette Tours, Collette Vacations. Just in the last couple of years, you made that decision to lop off the word vacations, and you're just Collette now. Tell us a little. Why did you make that decision to tweak the name, take off vacations, just go with Collette?
It's a good question, because everyone knows this as Collette here in Rhode Island, but really throughout the world, they know us as Collette. That's what they say. Collette Vacations, that might mean more sun and fun, Caribbean things, and we're basically doing guided tours. Every destination, whether it's New York City or Australia or South America, it's anywhere you do touring. So vacations is a little bit different. It's a vacation, and people think of that more as sun and fun.
Yeah, you go Florida and the beach.
Or Las Vegas or something like that, yeah.
So I want to hear a little more about the history of the business. Your father, a lot of people might remember him, also Dan Sullivan. Yeah. Your family wasn't involved right from the beginning of World War I. He took it over later. How did that come about, and how has it grown?
Yep. So Jack Collette founded in 1918, but he didn't have any kids. My father worked in the transportation industry, knew of Collette, and bought the business from Jack in 1962.
And then shortly thereafter, he went to the World's Fair, right?
The World's Fair was really a thing that really changed the face of our travel. Tours to New York, and it was just 64 and 65, 1964 and 65, which is huge. And he'd
that was in New York, right? That Disney did their stuff there. Big thing.
It was spectacular, and it changed the face of travel. I went a few times. Well, he'd have like 40 every weekend. He'd have programs both years, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 4-day tours to New York, and some weekends it'd have 40 coaches going a weekend.
So from there it grew. Now, how has the business evolved since the 60s, since he saw what he saw at the World's Fair, to what you do today? What's changed in terms of how you do your tours?
Well, the customers are different. The travel experience is different. So now they want to fly to the destination as opposed to motor coach. Even the national parks, they'll fly out to Scottsdale, Phoenix, and they'll get on a coach there. But then they're immersive into the culture of the destination, the national parks, or whether you're in China. They want to see the things that are in that area. So touring is great because you get so many immersive places to visit and people to meet. People want to meet the locals. So it's really changed that people want to meet the locals more. They want to do immersive things and sightseeing, entertainment, all that.
And of course, someone might be listening and say, well, I could do that myself. I could, I'll Google it up. I'll figure out where I'm going to go. I'll find out where I want to go. How do you convince people of the value out of getting a guided tour as opposed to sort of, having a map and wandering around Paris yourself?
Yeah. Well, of course, it's better value in the sense that we buy in bulk. When you get there, you may not get into some of the destinations. If we're doing a backstage tour in New York or London or whatever, you get out there, you may not get in because the show's sold out you want to do, or the unique experiences we do, you just can't get in. If you have a cooking class in Italy, you might go out there and it might be a month wait. So that's taken care of, and all those key things. So people, they want a tour because, and it's fun, it's a great experience, and they don't want to be walking around, even if people like exploring on their own. If you're going through either national parks or Canadian Rockies and you have to know what geological formation that is or what mountain that is, and you have to stop, you're not going to see as much, and you're not going to be sure of what you saw some of the time unless you're really an expert on that area. So when they go on a tour, they realize they know everything, they learn more. It's a great learning experience. And as I said, you go the places that you wouldn't even know on your own.
So I want to ask you about the economy and business at Collette. I remember 2008, that was a record year for you guys. Then, of course, the bottom falls out for everybody in the economy, and it's a bit rough in 09. I'm sure discretionary spending like travel was hit very hard. What's it been like in the years since the downturn in 2009, 2010, and how's business today for Collette?
Well, we bounced back quickly. 09 was a challenging year. But 2010 was a record year for the company. We just continued growth. Our growth's about 15% a year. Last year was 22%, so we've had great growth. But people want to travel. At some point, they want to take the discretionary dollars and go someplace in the world. Maybe they won't go to Australia or a 3-week program and spend $6,000 or $7,000. They might do an Italy or Ireland tour where they're going to spend $2,500, $3,500 a person. That's including airfare. That's pretty much, people want to travel and they're going to go. So our growth's been very consistent. The only thing that's ever stopped is like September 11. You had a little stoppage there. The recession in 2009, where people didn't know what was happening with the money, but it bounced back quickly.
How much is that because of demographic factors? I was talking to someone who's a big fan of your company and what you've done, and he said baby boomers retiring means there's a lot more people to travel. Is that something you're seeing?
It's huge. There's so many people retiring and want to go, and people are traveling younger now. When I tour guide an Egypt tour back in 08, I had 4 lawyers under 40. On the tour. So there's a younger group traveling because when they go, there's some areas where they want the comfort of being in a group, and there's other areas where they just want to see things. So people want to get out, they want to go to destinations, so you have people traveling longer in life, and you have people starting younger.
Now, so were you the tour guide in Egypt?
I was tour guide.
You were showing them this is the Sphinx and all that?
We had an Egyptologist as well, but yes, I really more hosted because the Egyptologist did all the history. I certainly wouldn't be able to do that.
I was impressed that you said this. I think that's King Tut, and that's perfect. We're going to go to a break in a second, but before we do, how about in terms of your customer base? Because you're in Pawtucket, but it's far from just Rhode Islanders going on your tours.
Yeah.
Where do your people come from usually who use Collette for their tours?
All over the U.S. We have 85 salesmen in the U.S., Canada, Great Britain, and Australia. So we're on the road selling to our partner agents all the time and their customers and working with them to really grow the market. So our Rhode Island's where it used to be the majority of our business. Now it's just a small percent because there's California, Florida, they come from everywhere, and they come from Sydney, Australia, or London, to take our tours because, they like our tours because the experiences they get and the great value for money.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk much more with Dan Sullivan about Collette, what they do up there, his trips to Egypt and other places, and much more. So stick with us on Executive Suite. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi, and we're talking today with Collette. I keep going to say Collette Vacations. The name is just Collette now because they're focusing on tours. Collette President and CEO Dan Sullivan. They're up there in Pawtucket. You probably know their sign. Maybe you know their tours as well, and that's what we're talking about today. Dan, people, travel agents, which you are not travel agents, but travel agents always come up when people talk about businesses that are disappearing because they say, everyone goes online, they go to a website, and they do their own travel agent thing. You've been CEO since 1990. Were you ever concerned that what you do was going to fade away with all this technological change like the struggles the travel agents have had, or did you always know, no, we do something different, we'll be fine?
We're a tour operator, so we put the tours together, and the travel agents buy them. you know, and so the agency business, I think, is stronger than ever. You know, it's come back.
So people might think it's in better shape than people think, maybe?
Yeah, there's maybe less travel agent locations because there are at-home agencies, but the agents that survived are the strongest, and they're a great resource because there's so many destinations in the world, so many tour companies, you can't know them all. So agents are a great resource to say, hey, here's where you should go and here's why, based on what the customer wants. You know, because there's independent touring they go on, they want a fully guided tour, they want a guide and cruise, and so many different things. It's you know, I give the travel agents a lot of credit. It's a lot of skill, a lot of work to know how to advise a client, because there's just so many destinations and it's so many places in the world.
Probably a lot of hustling too to convince people, come to the travel agent, we'll set it up for you.
Yep.
So you actually made an interesting big decision in 2012, I believe, not to let online companies resell your tours at discounted rates online like you see. Why did you make that decision?
Well, my son Dan headed that up and did a great job, and really to protect the integrity of the travel agent. Why devalue or discount your product and take away commissions from the travel agent? You know, so we did that to protect them because we respect the agent's time and their effort into selling any product. And that could be a cruise or a tour, it could be anything. But bottom line, we just don't allow discounting.
Now, I can imagine someone else in an executive meeting you're discussing that saying, look, the web is the future, we've got to be there and everything. Did you worry at all about not being there? Do you think that you have your sort of your pocket of things and you'll be all right with that?
Well, of course, we're on the web. We have a very strong presence on the web in many locations in the world, in all of our products. So, no, I think the web is a key market for us, but we're not going to discount, or we're going to really enhance, because we're, you know, top of the line touring, 4.5 star touring at very reasonable pricing. So it's really important to us, the web.
So you also have offices. Pawtucket is not your only office. You're in a couple. How many countries are you in now with offices?
We have offices in Sydney, Australia, which just opened in October. We have offices outside of London, Uxbridge, and we have offices in Vancouver and Toronto, Canada. And we support all those countries.
How long have you been doing the international offices?
Since 1989. Well, Canada was 89, UK was 94, and then Australia just opened this year.
And I'm curious what the decision point is on a new one like Australia. What did you see in Australia? You said that's a place we want to be. We want to have a footprint there.
Well, the Australians love traveling, and they love guided touring. You know, so, and we're just a good match for that, and they like good quality, great value at, you know, reasonable price. You know, great, but they want a little more upscale, four-star plus type product.
So I got to ask you about just places people go. What's the most popular products, destinations you have today?
Italy's number one.
Yeah.
Ireland's number two.
Across Italy or a specific part?
We have 23 different tours to Italy, so all over Italy. There's a few tours that dominate the mainstream of, you know, Florence, Venice, Rome, or the Key, but you might have Sorrento or Cinque Terre in different programs. So
I haven't heard of that. Okay.
There's so many great places to go. But, you know, Ireland's very popular. The National Parks has long been one of our every year, top 5 tour.
So that's domestic.
You know, that's domestic. So domestic's strong. We're probably the strongest of the domestic players in, selling the U.S. And Canada. I'll put Canada in there too. It's Canadian Rockies, National Parks, California Coast, New England.
Which park is the most popular of the national parks?
Grand Canyon.
Everyone wants to see the Grand Canyon.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's warm down there.
But Yellowstone. I mean, there's so many great ones. Yellowstone's great. Yosemite. There's just tremendous.
What are some of the most challenging places to operate as a tour? Are there you mentioned
Cuba.
Egypt, Cuba. Oh, that was on my list actually. Is Cuba the most challenging of the places you are?
It is because of the U.S. government and the Cuban government, really the alignment. But really,
because just to back up a little, you've been in Cuba. Everyone's heard about President Obama expanding, fixing relations with Cuba, but you've been there working there already a couple of years, right?
With a people-to-people license, yes, and so that's worked out well and very, very popular. But because you have government regulations, opening up travel there would be great. We're the only country in the world that doesn't allow open travel to Cuba. And it's a great destination. I've been there 3 times myself, and people love it. People are great. They love Americans. And basically most Americans, the Americans are going to love it. You know, it's just more of a political football in the U.S.
So putting the politics to one side, it does look like the president's trying to move forward on that. Are you hopeful will that have a big impact on you, even though you already have the license, if relations are more normalized with
Well, you
Cuba?
don't need the license anymore because he's opened it up, and hopefully
so that's taken effect.
That's taken out,
I
right?
see.
But you do have to run with those guidelines of what the people to people, which is immersive into the Cuban culture. You know, so it could be music, it could be education, it could be healthcare, things you want to do those visits. But when you take them to a cigar factory, things that really Cuba's known for, and you do things like that, they're a lot of fun. But you take them to a school, see the kids, they have a great educational system. So it's really, it's an impressive country to visit. I really enjoy it.
And can anybody go now? Any American go to Cuba with the way the rules are at the moment?
Yeah, they have to get a visa, but yes.
Interesting. All right, maybe I'll join you next time. All right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about Collette's approach to its employees and what it does in Pawtucket, as well as how things are looking in Pawtucket, where Dan's been involved a long time. Stick with us on Executive Suite. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi, and we're talking today with Collette, President and CEO Dan Sullivan. And Dan, I have to ask, everyone's going to wonder, do you know how many countries you've been to?
Actually, I don't. I've been to all 7 continents, so I've been to many countries. I should add them up. I don't.
Got to make a list. Do you have a favorite place? You know, when you, because vacation's your business. I don't know. Can you take a tour? Can you take a vacation like a normal person?
Well, New Zealand's one of my favorites, but Croatia, we're taking the sales team to Croatia in December,
really?
Which is beautiful, just spectacular. The first international tour we had done was Switzerland, and that's just spectacular. Taking the trains to Switzerland is great. So there's so many, Italy, Ireland, whenever you go, just meeting the people in both those countries and the great cuisine that you find in Italy or France. There's so many reasons to go to so many places, and you go back time and time again.
So you never get sick of traveling?
I never do. No, I travel 160 days a year, and it's a lot because it's a big world.
Yeah, that's right. You got to get a lot of places. Is there anywhere you haven't been that you'd like to go?
There's a few places I'd like to certainly immerse more. You know, I'd like to do Montenegro, which is just south of Croatia in that area. Do that. Romania, Bulgaria. I've been to Russia, but I'd love to go across the Trans-Siberian and do that. Do immerse more into Morocco. We got a great new Morocco program, but I personally, our product manager Nancy Davids had developed that program, did a great job. But I haven't really. I've been to Tangiers, and that's it. There's Marrakesh and Fez in the mountains, and Morocco's just a great destination. So I know it, but I really want to experience it.
So your employees actually get to go. One of the perks of working for Collette is you get to go on these tours, which is pretty great. And I know you put a big emphasis on training, on retaining your employees, et cetera. We were just talking actually with Cumberland Farms a couple weeks ago about something similar, and I said, you know, a lot of companies say, well, if you invest in too much training, they could just leave. But you're still making that investment. Why do you think that's so important? Well,
your employees are who you are as a company, right? So our culture at Collette is tremendous. We've got great people. We hire great people. They're motivated. And our average employee retention is over 9 years. I think it's 9.5 years. And that's counting all the new employees that we hire as we continue to grow, over 600 employees. So it's the most important thing we do is train. They also get to see the destinations. They get to travel on a trip. They get to go on familiarization trips. In the 15 years, they get to take a free trip.
Wow.
20 years, another free trip, 25. So if they're there, they get to see.
You might want to retire before I have to give you another free trip, yeah.
So it's great, but you have to know. You have to know your product. That's one of our really mottos is that you have to know the product and really to be able to do a great job selling it or even handle it operation-wise,
I've heard over the years, I know officials in Massachusetts have seen this big corporate headquarters right over the border in Pawtucket, Collette, and tried to see if they could lure you over the border, move the headquarters there. Is that something you'd ever consider?
Well, you always look at everything, and you got to make sure it makes sense. But we're very committed to Rhode Island. We're very committed to Pawtucket. Pawtucket is where we grew up and where we started. So it's a great history there, and we love Pawtucket, and it's part of our history.
And you've been very involved in Pawtucket over the years. I know you were a mover and shaker on the Pawtucket Foundation getting founded and everything. How are things going in the city of Pawtucket?
Great. We have a great mayor, Don Grebian, and we have a great foundation. Aaron Hertzberg heads that up. So the city, and it's a great community. When we have our annual dinner, I think we had 450 people attend this year to a dinner that basically businessmen that are committed to the community, you know, and that knowing that we can make Rhode Island better, make Pawtucket better, and it's a great city, a lot of history. Slater Mill's there, the oldest cod mill in the country, the oldest mill, and right in the Blackstone, and just got a National Park Foundation, you know, Heritage Corridor, so it's just, it's a great location.
So feeling some optimism up there in
Oh
Pawtucket.
yeah, there's a lot of optimism.
Yeah. You're also a member of an interesting group, the Committee Encouraging Corporate Philanthropy, which I think Paul Newman, the actor, actually founded.
Yeah.
How do you get involved in that, and what is it?
Well, Alan Hasselfeld from Hasbro actually recommended me. It's basically Fortune 500 companies, which Collette is not yet a Fortune 500. We hope to be soon. But bottom line is, it's basically all CEOs of major corporations in the world that get together and try to do more to give back to the communities. So John Whitehead from Goldman Sachs and Paul Newman and Peter Malkin from the Empire State, they formed it to get people to commit, to get corporations to do a greater good for the community.
And I know Collette does a lot. You have Collette Cares, which is your charitable organization.
Yeah.
How much money have you been able to put out through that over the years?
Oh, many millions, because we've done that. My mother started with the L.S.I. Sullivan Foundation.
Your mother, who's still the chairwoman, right?
My mother is the chairwoman.
So you still answer to her in
boss,
the end.
Yes.
She can fire you any day.
Yeah, she can.
Your mother.
Yes.
I also wanted to ask you, state leaders have been talking a lot about improving the economy. Collette's been around a long time, been a corporate citizen in Rhode Island. Is there anything what do you suggest to them that they should be doing and focusing on as they try to have a good foundation for economic growth in Rhode Island?
I think they've done some good things in with Governor Raimondo and the leadership in the House with Mattiello and Weed in the Senate. I think they've done a good job trying to move it forward in the last couple of years. I see some tax benefits that are helping businesses and helping people in the state. So there's a lot of good things, I think, moving forward. I think we have great mayors in Rhode Island. I think there's a lot of optimism in Rhode Island. It's small, so I think they can dramatically change it with some of the things they're doing. And ease regulations, I think, are important to make it easy for bring a company in, because Rhode Island's a great place to live. People want to live, so give them a reason to live and really develop a more vibrant community, because Rhode Island, is a great place, I said, to live, and the surroundings. But I think the economy can be a little more vibrant, and it is. It's certainly moving forward.
And do you think your fellow business leaders are feeling that? Do you think that's widely shared, that things are starting to move in the right direction for Rhode Island?
I think in general that it's definitely feeling that it's better. But we know there's a lot more work to do, but yes, it's definitely better.
All right, well, that's all the time we have this week. If you want to see Cuba or Montenegro or just about any place else, it sounds like you want to talk to Dan Sullivan, the president and CEO of Collette Vacations in Pawtucket. Dan, thanks for joining me.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for joining us for this conversation this week on Executive Suite. As I've told you before, we're now available as a podcast on iTunes, along with our sister show Newsmakers, so you can get those by subscribing on iTunes, get them on your phone or your tablet every week. You can also catch up on previous episodes on WPRI.com, and you can now catch us on the radio Sunday nights at 6 on WPRO 99.7 FM, 6:30 a.m. So many, many ways to stay in touch with the latest Executive Suite. We hope you'll keep checking us out. See you back next week.